I expect to feel relieved after I speak. I hear a lot of people saying that that's the case. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to read 7 very short stories from my new book. I was a lucky person. I was a very successful person, said the woman. She was not entirely busy with her work. She took cups and tumblers from her cupboard to prepare a coffee or a tea. She thought we have some smaller or even smaller. Her Uncle Bill said, "Have you been able to have sexual intercourse?" She said, "Yes, and I had a climax too." This idea is compact and stained and strained to the limit. The Emporium. I had stretched my body into a dart, inhaled deeply, and passed through the aisles at top speed. And then a man with a red-nailed woman and a girl came up to me, and the man said, "You don't remember me. I'm Kevin. I was married to Cynthia. We're not together anymore." They had been the cross sticks. What he wanted now, Kevin said, was peace, prosperity, and freedom. And I more or less respected Cynthia Crossstick. I didn't like her at first. She's not very nice. She's odd, but that's the whole point. I didn't like my fly brooch at first either. It's fake. And you can't get it wet. It's very rare, and the colors are not nice, and I get lots of enjoyment from that. I picked up Glad steaming bags and rocket cheese. "It's very cold. Do you want some lemonade?" said a child at a little stand. "We give 20% to charity." "No," I said loudly as I exited the emporium, although there might have been something to enjoy in swallowing that color. "Why is she crying?" the child had asked an adult. Why was I crying? I had tried to hear the answer, but could not have heard the answer without squatting, without my getting around down in front of the pair, bending at the knees so that the proverbial snake no longer crawls on its belly. I should have first stooped over. The lemonade girl hadn't mentioned the gumdrop cookies they had hoisted for sale. Just the mention of cookies brings back memories of spritz and springerly and cinnamon stars, party favors, attractive, deliciously rich, beautiful colors, very well liked, extra special, that I made a struggle to run from. The newly made supper. The guest's only wish is to see anyone who looks like Betsy, to put his hands around this Betsy's waist, on her breasts. He's just lost to Betsy. He followed Betsy. In front of Betsy, who supports on her knees her dinner dish, you can see the guest approach. "You got your supper?" he says. "Betsy?" And Betsy says, "Who's that in the purple shirt?" "That's not purple." You say, "Purple?" says the guest. "What color would you say that is?" says Betsy. "That's magenta." "I have to look that up." "Magenta," says Betsy. "That's magenta," says the guest. "That's lavender," says another woman, who's a better Betsy. Chicken Winchell. The waitress who is badly nourished or just naturally unhealthy, has a theory about why the daughter never returned. The daughter did return for only a little stay to ask which chicken dish her father had ordered for her. The mother experiences her losses with positivity. She even frames the notion of her own charm as she heads into her normal amount of it. Yes, she confides in the waitress. Both her daughter and her husband have disappeared, and yes, her daughter is a darling, but hasn't she made it clear to her that there isn't a boy her age to admire her within 100 miles? The mother roams home wearing the fine check jacket and her black calf heels alone. She sees the pair of doors of a little shop where they are selling magic and all kinds of things. Inside, the clerks with elf flocks are dressed for the cold. There is a bakery the mother thinks would be nice and warm. It's okay. And after that, she goes to the gift shop and she gets those soul inserts. Normally the family's frugal, they eat at home, buy groceries. The mother's legs are trembling, yet she has a good conscience and a long life. She used to weigh 135 pounds, now she weighs 114 pounds, but it's been very hectic. As she sleeps, the telephone rings, wakes her, and she thirsts for a glass of water. She finds that one thing neatly, reasonably, takes her away from yet another. Lord of the face. The fact that she's backlit makes her look ambitious, and she tickles my funny bone. First I thought that her blue eyes on a pink and yellow background looked a bit purblind, but then their general dimension intrigued me. They have a nice design, glare. They're not generous. It's hard to slot him in. He seemed novice-like, uncertain of himself, but he was efficient. She said, "I am Diane Williams." They went out to the terrace for a cigarette. Italy itself is very lovely, but as the brightness of the sun hit the terrace, the figure of a six-legged star, a sign for sure, was produced on the bluestone. All six legs of the star were fairly straight. One leg of the star was not exactly the same length as the others. One leg was perfectly straight. Their housekeeper grabbed at her own leg and at the top side of her foot. Their cat was yanked up off the terrace by a bird of prey and then dropped. For the cat's recovery, there were $5,000 worth of veterinarian bills, and for the housekeeper, a premonition she'd be hit by a car. The star, the cross, the square, a single sign shows the tendency. Can people avoid disaster? Yes. I leave my readers to draw their own conclusions. Some years ago, I was satisfied. Stop. Diane, so many things are clear. Diane was blushing. Her yellow fuzz shows in the sun. She no longer has words of her own and so chooses grunting. Diane, open, contribute, inform the place. Her brown fuzz, a yellow fuzz over it. The curtains are original. A room contains medical equipment. Diane's an early type, who before arriving in Siena had a day planned for her departure. She had made the arrangements so that she'd stay during the spring in Italy as an imaginary character with hope. This one is Stand. My friend said, I fell in love with a neighbor. I said, your husband fell in love with the neighbor? My friend said, no. She said, I fell in love with the neighbor. She was counting her fingers. She said she couldn't get the neighbor's penis to do anything. As a matter of fact, I couldn't get his penis to do anything either. It hung like a mop, or it had a life of its own. How it came up in the first place, I don't know. He couldn't get my vagina, I wanted to say, to utter a word. But since one should always make room for fun, we all ate our food and we laughed. The last time I saw my friend was when she was finishing her drink, gulping. Was it the sound of the sea, perhaps? How the sea very slowly and with great effort laps, but does not go down, I want to say, in one gulp. The last time I saw my friend's crepe de chine skin, her frizzy hair, her dark breasts that wriggle raw, I said to myself, you had enough. This is the last story. Pedestal. He had chafing, and I'm not having luck with anything I'm using. We had agreed to meet where they know me. The server put drinks down. Hey, he said, I happen to have a chicken, why don't you come over? I would say that to a friend, and it would be true. My anus is now irritated. My vagina is very delicate. My stomach hurts. His sconces were shaded in a red tartan plaid, and there were side views of sailing boats in frames. I was getting to see the hair cracks in his skin that suggest stone or concrete as it hardens. Back out on 91st Street, a man and a woman were walking their dog. The woman had turnip-colored hair. The man wore a felt hat, and he motioned to me. They could have both been exhausted and penniless. No, as it turned out, they were assembled there to talk me out of that. Let me think about this further. At a stand, I bought a few strands of daisies. Every bone in one of these blossoms is mended